Some members of parliament, they've joined in calls on government to initiate investigations into the payment of ex gratia to former chief executives as well as other officials of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, the GNPC.
The issue was first brought to public attention by former Deputy Energy Minister Katie Hammond, who insisted that Mr. Chikata should refund the money because he doesn't deserve it. Other NPP MPs who spoke to parliamentary correspondent Emmanuel are demanding the dissolution of the GNPC board, accusing members of causing financial loss to the state.
It's a very sad day for this country. We are all witnessing serious economic crisis in this country. So one would have expected that this is not the time, even if they deserve ex gratia. This is not would have been the right time to pay this gargantuan sum of 5 million Ghana cedi to a few individuals within the industry. We are all aware that the revenue that this government is the only government that is benefiting from oil revenue. So one would have thought that they would take time to at least spell out plan of how to utilize this oil revenue to the benefit of all ordinary Ghanaians. But what we are seeing now is only few individuals within NDC taking money due to every Ghanaian to spend. And that is why, if at the time that we cannot even pay for the gases that we are getting from Nigeria, Ghana government is owing NGAS over $20 million. We all know this. At the time you cannot pay for gas to power your plant. At the time you cannot pay your District Assembly Common Fund. As we speak, 2014 fourth quarter of District Assembly Common Fund is in arrears. Yet you are paying 5 million Ghana cedi to only few individuals. It's not fair to Ghanaians. So we are calling on the president to investigate, to just get a committee to investigate, independent committee, bipartisan committee to investigate this matter. Those who sat and decided and made the decision that the money should be paid to the few individuals involved should be brought to book because it's improper. After 20 years, Chachu and Co., the days he was chief executive for GNPC, by then we're all young. 20 years. They are not telling us that it is now that their ex gratia is due after he has left office for more than 20 years.
Well, it's cost us so much. We call him 20 years later to reward him. For me, it is unacceptable. Seriously unacceptable. Whoever got that money should refund that money, and whoever paid that money must pay the price by just sacking that person. The board, if the board approved it, that board must be sacked. Because this is not prudent use of the resources of this country. And let me add this thing before we go. You see, I think we are allowing GNPC to have their own way too much. The way GNPC is handling the funds flowing from our oil find, if you are not careful, you see, when we didn't have oil, GNPC mismanaged the resources of this country. So that kind of vulgar spending, now that we have oil, they are implementing it at full blast. And if you are not careful, the capacity building, has anybody checked the Public Accounts Committee, the report that they bring, the Auditor General's report? The amount of money that is used for capacity building is even more than the amount of money that is given to the agriculture sector. Why are we doing this to ourselves? How do we want to grow? That's no wonder agriculture is growing at 0.04%.
We need to know what legal basis was used for the payment that has been made to all those people who had left the employ of GNPC. In the case of Madame Esther Koba, we learned that she actually abandoned her post. She was transferred to the gas company and she never stepped there. So is that such a person entitled to make any claim? That's one thing. And there's a third one. I have information, I can confirm that, and I'm urging you to investigate it, that indeed GNPC's own conditions of service does not support the payments that have been made. And in fact, lawyers of GNPC did write an opinion against the payment to the board. I urge you to investigate those claims, and that if indeed lawyers of GNPC had raised these issues about being statute barred, the limitation period having expired, indeed there not being any foundation in their conditions of service, then the board needs to explain to Ghanaians upon what basis they determined and paid those monies to Mr. Chikata, Madam Koba, and Nana Sefoje.
And the minority in Parliament, they've raised concerns over a request for tax waiver of more than $40 million for imported materials and equipment for the construction of 5,000 affordable housing units.
They say the request from the Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing could lead to an abuse of Parliament's revenue privileges.
Mr. Speaker, the $229 million loan, if we add the $40 million that we are waiving, if it's a private company, the private company would have paid. Therefore, you add the $40 million to 29. It brings you to 269 million. When you strike it by 5,000, it is 53,800 on average. Okay, so please, it's here. Let us work it.
Honorable members, one at a time, please.
Even if it's 200 million, you strike it by 5,000, it is still $48,000, and interest is not included. So if you add interest to it, don't tell us, yeah, we're going to pay. Anybody who takes a loan to buy that property will pay interest on it. Okay? Yes. Yeah, if you're going to contract or take a mortgage to buy this property, you are going to pay interest on it. So when you want the actual figure or the actual amount or the cost of a unit, you have to add all these up and give us the actual figure. And therefore, if you sit here, Minister, and tell us it's 40,000, it is wrong.
I want to assure the House that we will do whatever we can to make sure that the houses become affordable to Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, we have not priced the houses yet. So it is not true that the houses will be sold at $40,000 as being alluded to by just doing that raw calculation, you will get it wrong. Government has provided certain things. So in pricing the houses, all those things that government has provided will be factored in and taken off from the cost.
Pressure group Let My Vote Count Alliance is seeking answers from the Electoral Commission over its demands for the compilation of a new voters register.
Convener of the group, David Asante, told journalists at a news conference the silence of the Electoral Commission is deafening, especially after the Commission's public hearing to collate public views on the matter. He says the time has come for the EC to state its position.
A landmark case has been won against the IGP, the police service, and then the Attorney General of this country. That isn't really the impelling factor for this day's press conference. Not just alone, but we also deem it ideal and very necessary to bring to bear the issue that really brought to bear the court case which has brought us this far. That is the fight and the demand for a new voters register. The victory in court yesterday sets the battle for a new register on a different pedestal. After 1 month of the committee hearing, the question is, how long is the Electoral Commission of Ghana expecting the people of Ghana to keep reticent and still expect solutions and answers from the Commission? We question the neutrality of the panel of 5 because a few of them had made public statements which we thought were quite prejudiced or prejudicial to their mandate. We were not told the mandate of the committee, what the committee was expected to do. The committee were not given timelines. The EC as a body itself does not even have the timelines handy to tell Ghanaians that in the next 1 month or in the next 2 months or in the next 3 days,
You know that for a fact.
and our position will be made known to the people of Ghana. Well, as far as we are concerned, the EC has not told us, so there are no timelines. And the Electoral Commission is operating in vacuum. And everybody is watching quietly. There is a serious situation on hand, which I am thinking should really click and hit the sensibilities of all democracy-loving people in this country.
In mainstream politics, Two members of the New Patriotic Party have petitioned the party's disciplinary committee over comments made by the second vice chairman of the party, Sammy Crab.
Boy Lai and Gladys Mandede want Mr. Crab expelled from the party for his comments following the suspension of the embattled chairman Paul Afoko. Kwachi Afreniama has more.
Two petitioners are former Greater Accra regional executives of the New Patriotic Party. They raised two key issues in the 60-page document presented to the disciplinary committee of the party. First of all, they want the disciplinary committee to probe Mr. Sammy Crab over comments he passed soon after the suspension of Paul Afoko by the party's National Executive Committee. Another key issue they want the disciplinary committee to probe is over the issuance of party ID cards by Mr. Sammy Crab and some two other executives of the party without approval by the party's finance committee. Mr. Sammy Crab, however, says the disciplinary committee has no jurisdiction over his removal as the second vice chairman of the New Patriotic Party. He gives a number of reasons. Here are some. That the petition for the removal of an officer shall be on stated grounds, a copy of which shall be given to the affected officer, who shall be given the opportunity to be heard by a body constituted by the executive committee. Again, he says, upon the receipt of the written notice, the constituency, regional and national executive committee or national council, as the case may be, may suspend the officer from acting in his or her office pending the holding of an emergency delegates conference. So clearly, Mr. Sammy Crab says that this body, the disciplinary committee, cannot sit on this matter. For Joy News, I am Kwachi Afreniama.
Meanwhile, former General Secretary of the party, Kojo Usue-Friye, known to many of us as Sir John, has taken a swipe at the current leadership of the party for constantly reacting to needless criticisms, which he believes distracts the NPP from focusing on its core campaign to retain the party to power.
He's actually asking the rank and file of the party to forge ahead in order to effectively champion the cause of the party.
If you are a politician, it is not every time that you answer criticisms. Some of the challenges that I see with our leadership is that they are always, they always want to answer criticisms. But if you do so, you open yourself for further criticisms. So my advice is that you must move on. Sometimes you must put some of these things behind you and move on. As long as you are doing a very good job that posterity will be proud of, you must forge ahead and do that. But if you're always looking at what others are saying about you, you can never achieve anything. So for me, it is important that all politicians should move forward without being distracted by any other such should heed the advice of Nana Akufo-Addo that we should not rush to the media at the first instance. We should be able to talk amongst ourselves. We should be able to, as it were, resolve our problems internally instead of rushing to the press with the least, chance that we get. Once we do that, the press are there to chance upon that. And so the advice is that we should use internal mechanisms, the internal structures to resolve problems instead of rushing to the media, to talk about these matters.
Your flag bearer is yet to choose a campaign manager. Who do you expect to take up that position?
We are all campaign managers. All of us are campaign managers. And my view is that, whoever is called upon to lead is a service. You are a servant of the party. I see that as a call for service, a call to duty. We are all campaign managers. I am a campaign manager. You are a campaign manager. Together, victory shall be ours. No one person can win elections for us. One tree does not make the forest. So all of us working together will bring the New Patriotic Party to power. So I urge everybody not to wait until somebody is mentioned. But wherever we find ourselves, let us work our socks out and victory shall be.
Construction workers on the Circle Interchange project in Accra have laid down their tools following disagreement over the payment of a Christmas bonus package.
In October this year, the union proposed the payment of the bonus package, but the construction firm Queros Galval told workers on Monday that there will be no bonuses this Christmas. The company has also reportedly failed to pay allowances since the construction works began some 3 years ago.
The problems are many. Even our basic salary is not paid regularly. I pay so much tax. In a month, I pay about 150 cedis. The company has also failed to pay our overtime allowance. We need the government to help us.
I was a catcher by no sorry, no boy.
We are not paid as we expect from the project. We have worked with different companies, including those from India and China, and we were treated fairly. The construction company has failed to pay our allowances. As you can see, I'm chewing roasted maize.
Our allowance, my maybe a bro, na me no. I was saying, I just a menyami fufobia media, and Kayaba maybe a bro.
Okay, so we'll see what the reaction has been to a lot of the stories we've been showing you today. That's easy for you.
Some people are also coming up with their own news stories. For instance, somebody in Cape Coast, I'm sure, is commenting on something happening at the UCC, KNUST, and some of the universities. We're going to soak that and share with you. We know that a lot of you are commenting on some of the issues. We'll bring your views. But for now, that's it for the AM News. More updates when we check out the news headlines in a bit.
Okay, so please make sure that you're here. We're able to look at what the stories are, and very soon we'll bring you some of the stories also on some of the news portals. All right, here, myjournline.com foremost is what we'll be starting with. Do stay on. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.